More than 8 years, nearly 4,500 American lives, and continuing political turmoil at home and abroad. That is the cost of the Iraq War in a nutshell. And it all comes to an end at the end of this year when the last American soldier leaves the country. And that is because of a botched negotiation by the Obama administration. I'm Steve Green. This is Trifecta, and here to take a look at the ignoble end of one of America's longest and most controversial wars, of course, Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. Bill, first question to you. The New York Times reported that the negotiations with the Iraqis came crashing down on one issue, and that was immunity for U.S. troops. It's an unpopular issue with the Iraqi people, and we insisted on it quite publicly, which put Baghdad in a real bind. Is this more of that smart diplomacy we've gotten so used to?
Well, it should never have come down to this. You can listen. What are we talking about when we talk about immunity for U.S. troops? What kind of war is it, where your primary concern is no longer enemy bullets but lawyers? I mean, we're talking now about taking warfare into such a degree of non-warfare that you can't even call it warfare anymore. You imagine applying that rule to any war in our nation's history, World War II or the Civil War or Iwo Jima? You imagine if there was a serious concern about the guys going up Mount Suribachi, whether that use of that flamethrower was authorized, and if not, that guy's going to be sued or put in jail? I mean, the negotiations for Iraq are a whole different thing, but the entire sticking point is absurd, and we were right to stick up for it.
All right. Scott, on our conference call yesterday, you said that almost nobody, except for the hard anti-war left and the hard anti-war right, seemed really happy with this deal, or lack of a deal, I should say. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I was kind of stunned because for the first time in years, I had actually just tuned into a national public radio program, and they had on there Ted Koppel, the old ABC Nightline guy. They had a retired general, and they had Bob Woodward, the Washington Post investigative reporter, all the President's Men fame, and all of them were going after the president on this deal. They all thought it was a bad idea, and Bob Woodward kept basically saying, look, we're going to be back in there. We can say we're getting out of there, but we're not really getting out of there. You just can't walk away from it like that. So it's kind of a stunning thing that this president has managed to offend both sides. Now, of course, the White House will portray that as he's such a middle-of-the-road guy that, of course, the extreme fringes are upset about it.
Well, of course. But, you know, Bob Woodward, he might be right in theory, but we'll see what happens in practice come January 1st. Bill, on Fox News the other day, Colonel Ralph Peters, the novelist, columnist, he's a retired Army intelligence officer, he summed it up in 2 words: Iran won. Is he right?
It's certainly not hopeful. What those soldiers accomplished in Iraq is almost beyond imagining. It's almost beyond human ability to grasp. Right. You would take the worst dictatorship in the Arab world, which means really the worst dictatorship in the world, and try to turn them into a functioning democracy where people vote and they have parliaments and they try to deal with the rule of law. You've got these enormous ethnic divisions and so on and so on and so on. Pulling out like this, just in order to save face for the president, which is what it is yet another example of just how the poverty of character that man has. But it's just barely possible, I think, that the sacrifice and the example of those men and women who both came home and who didn't may have been enough to keep that country on its feet and give them something to lose.
Now, let's hope. That's Bill Whittle, creator of Afterburner, and he's 1/3 of Whittle, Clavin, and you. Oh, he's also the co-founder of Declaration Entertainment. Check him out on the web. Scott, last question, and it's very basic, but I think it's the one we always have to ask with these issues. Does pulling out of Iraq, getting our troops out of a very dangerous neighborhood, does that make us more safe or less safe?
Well, it can't possibly make us any more safe. And I'm with Bill on this one. I mean, you cannot take a thing away from these troops who have fought and bled and died and suffered in Iraq for all of these years and have accomplished an amazing thing, something almost unprecedented in history, especially in that part of the world. And I'm delighted that there will be some happy holidays this year where there'll be some troops coming home and spending the holidays with their family. That's wonderful. My great fear is that we will have to have a legitimate excuse to go back in, because inevitably we're going to have to go back in. My great fear is we will be sending them back in after the massacre.
What a shame that would be. That's Scott Ott, creator of Freedom's Charter and host of PJ Newsbreak, both right here on PJ TV. And somehow he also manages to find time to run as the GOP candidate for Lehigh County Commissioner. You know, folks, I'm lousy at conspiracy theories. I think JFK was shot by one guy in the window of a book depository. I don't believe we have any UFOs stored at Area 51, and I'm certain we landed on the moon. But I look at this hard-left president trying to rally his hard-left base, and I'm not so sure that he didn't scuttle these negotiations on purpose just to rally his troops, and with a callous disregard for what might happen to our troops. For Scott Ott, Bill Whittle, and everyone here at PJTV, I'm Steve Green.